Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having invited me. I'm very glad and honored to be here today.
Actually, I must say that I'm honored because I'm always happy to find women in the energy sector. I always want to hear about the female, let's say, hear the female voice in the energy sector. So this is going to be excellent. So let's start with something simple. COP26, failure or success? What do you think?
Okay, let's say that after years being in the energy sector, even if I'm a female, I'm here since more than 24 years, has not been the best COP26 in terms of results and delivery of objective and targets. But I think one successful thing, some two successful things was that the capability and the level of understanding from several companies now we can consider complete. We can say that the COP has been for years something for very expert person, while today we reach the point that is a common understanding that we need to be the objective that the human activity are embedded in the scope of reducing CO2 emission. So the level of awareness of people is major, and the level of understanding from companies embedding in their plan, in development plan and investment plan, how to reach this objective is probably for the very first time 100% reached. It is, in my opinion, being in the sector for years, an incredible target reached.
Okay, that makes sense. And how do you think utilities? What is the role of the utility in this green recovery and this COP26 mix? Let's say.
I think that the scope of utility is huge, so it's a big challenge for them. They are responsible for a big portion of the emission, and so they are responsible to find a solution. And in my opinion, being in the utility sector, the past decades has been spent to find a big portion of the solution that was about deploying renewable technology in a way that the economics were not anymore bringing the renewable on a side, like special energy, renewable energy, but now we speak about green energy and there is no other option. And this is again a good result, and the path is defined, and especially if you refer to Europe, that has been front runner since the very beginning of this, let's say, Paris Agreement's common platform. I think that's the job is done. Then it's a time to implement, but it's done. On the side where I come from, that is I'm working nowadays, that is the side of the grid operator. I think that the role and the centrality in that scope has been for the first time recorded even at COP. I think that in COP25 there was no mention at all about grids, network.
Exactly.
And COP26 has been the first, and also together with the work that has been done 6 months before by analysts, Outlook consultants, that the grid has been bring at the center, because now that renewable, let's say, energy has been tipped like done, I think it's the time for a role, strategy and work to be done by grid operator that at the center of transition. So it's very clear that for money investment in renewable, you need same amount of money on the grid sides to prepare the grid and to adapt for hosting all these renewable, and for hosting another big portion that is main player for the reducing emission. That's electric vehicle from another sector that's was not let's say part of the energy let's say table, no? And now is
makes total sense. Yes. Now, if we want to, let's say, succeed in our plans for the future, we need to have the people on board. So grid operators need also to have services and to convince the clients, the consumers, the prosumers even, that what they're doing, what we are trying to accomplish is the right thing. What is your opinion on this one?
I think that my opinion is that if you want to put again the grid operator at the center, we need to that the modality we do is not just to putting investments to hosting renewable, but to do in a way that the network is open, is in a democratic way, participatory way, to all the stakeholder that will be parts of this objective. So in the end, the consumer that's will be more and more have an active role. The other player, like aggregator, the new words and sector of the electric mobility that will be switched on the energy side will be again seated on this part of the network, in particular the distribution network. And we need to dialogue with them more and more. So, and this means that we need to find, first of all, simplicity, because we are a very technical business and people, they were never understanding what we were talking about. So they were seeing as engineering, managing network, cables, poles, cabins and substation. And now that we are adding on top a new technology, to do in a way that network is able to do a more complex job, respect to the past, we are even more complex, and we need to simplify the message of what we need, and we need also to listen what is also the customer needs. So to engage, and this is something that's participation is a central pillar of our strategy.
And how do we do that? How do we engage them? Because it's the start that is a little bit difficult. Once they start engaging, I'm sure they will see the benefit. But how do we do that?
So we say simplicity is the first. So we need to simplify the messages. It's also the way they need to connect with us, not just in physical terms, but also in to create always any type of processes and deployment in an affordable way, because when you put on the table an effort, you need that everyone could really participate to that. And so the affordability to that is also a key topic. And the other point is to also translate all these in something that is sustainable for them. And this is also take them on the side of the contents, not just on the technical side, but also on the scope. So it's just not, we are your network and want to be reliable. We tell you in a simple way, but also you are with us participating into the energy sustainable deal. And if you choose electricity, you will contribute.
Would also education be part of the mix? Like educate the citizens of the European Union, let's say, for example, towards the energy sector, the benefits and...
No, for sure, education is a passage that's has to be done, but also is should be not that sort of top-down, not I educate you, but let's educate.
I love it, yes.
Because otherwise it's sort of grandfathering, and this is not the case.
No.
And the possibility and the challenge of the network operator in particular is about the fact that we arrive to the home, we arrive to the people at the very end. We are at the end of the entire value chain. And so this is a good perspective for stakeholder engagement, starting from the consumer and the customer in driving the change and any type of process and any type of design, involving them since the very beginning. So the time also is an issue. We not to wait, prepare everything, put on the table and present to them. This is not the right way to do that.
Definitely
But
not.
when you do any change, we need to involve them from the very beginning. So let's do a process together, how we can improve, because this is real participation.
Exactly, and it becomes a way of life from a certain point onward. Who should, let's say, who should finance this whole procedure? Should it be the grid operator alone, or with help from local authorities and the EU Commission?
It's clear that it's a combined process. I mean, grid operator is a regulated business. So in the end, tariff component is a big portion of, but there are two perspectives that are very important. One perspective is that because we are bringing an enormous effort also in other sectors, like, for example, mobility. So the bill of a family will change. So the bill of a family that before was done by electricity and gasoline now will be done more and more on electricity. And this means that all the effort, all the investments should also pretend on some way to be socialized in some aspect, because it's a benefit for all, decarbonization, and because everyone now is clear that decarbonization is through electrification, some part of this electrification has to be socialized in somehow.
Yeah.
The other stakeholder that should be engaged, as not just a point of economics, but time is economic as well, is all the local authority should really understand that all the permitting, authorization, being all this investment very embedded in the community should be really facilitated and simplified in order to allow that this implementation phase will be not slowing all the efforts. And so we need really that's the responsibility of and the sense of urgency will be by everyone, not just by the operator.
Okay, but do you think that the local authorities and EU Commission have gotten the message? Let's say, are they doing what they're supposed to do, or they could do a little bit more?
I think that mainly they are doing, because the level of attention has been raised at this point. That is a question probably also about culture. So there's still a job to be done in really reading the KPI of any type of effort in a different way. I just give you an example. If you do an investment, it's about innovation. This innovation needs to be really weighted in a different way. If you do an investment, it is also bringing component of CO2 emission, because I want to, for example, to implement not just bar meter, but bar meter done with the chassis from recycled plastics. And this type of approach should be in some way weighted. So I think this is the key points. Still culture on understanding how you want the things to be done, and when the things are done the right way, find a good methodology for cost-benefit analysis.
Do you think that Europe, I mean, you already said that Europe is pioneer when it comes to green recovery, compared a little bit with what is going on in the United States and Asia. How do you think we stand? You are confident that we are pioneers?
I think we are still pioneer from the perspective of the emission. It's clear that in some area, especially of East, like China, when they apply, then the volume is incredible. So they could also be used, because when they start to innovate, and perhaps they arrive later, but when they arrive, the capability they have in terms of volume due to the magnitudes and the size could create also back to Europe good operational excellency and recovery. For example, the renewable deployment has been like that.
Yes.
We started in Europe, USA not so much, because they have not federal agreements, state by state, community by community. When the Chinese decided to do that, and they did, in the end, the economic scale effects has been back also for European second wave of deployments has been effective also for us. So I think that this is the good way also to increase cooperation, to levelize in order to not be always the front runner, because being the front runner, if no one follow you,
exactly,
makes no sense.
Exactly. What if we are alone in the end? Yeah.
In the end, the global emission is a global, not just because we define it as a global, but because in the reality, it's a common benefit for everyone. So I think that's the way to be front runner always, is not to forget in our mind how we can scale up any type of implementation. So any type of innovation has to be done in that direction, and cooperation among operators should happen in that direction. We do not have to forget that, for example, there are areas like Africa where electrification is not still there, and we can facilitate sort of leapfrog for them. So they can, for example, do not our mistakes and directly come to small projects, distributed energy. They can facilitate electrification and reduction of emission.
Definitely. Now, speaking of pioneers, Enel is a pioneer in Europe, but not only, also worldwide. So I would like to ask you, what are the focus point according to your, let's say, area of expertise?
In particular, in the area of expertise in global distribution, where we are present in 8 countries, and so 2 continents for the time being, but we have also idea to expand a little bit. So it's Europe and South America. I think that's we always, again, a different level, but what we are trying to do is to reach the same level for all our distributors. So we want that all the innovation will be implemented for everyone, not just for our area of Italy, that it was the starting point, but for all our distributors. And the pillar by which we try to implement is to do open innovation. So in order not to stick in our business, but to find a way that also the other can contribute. To always do that with our supply chain, because it's important when you do investment to have everyone on board, and the supplier, the first stakeholder.
Yeah.
And also to bring participation from the customer side, as I was mentioning before. And the other point is another big pillar is about resilience. Why? Because it's clear that it's changing the challenging, but the old job of distributor with the different complexities there. The resilience is not just about climate change, weather condition that can create disruptive phenomenon, but it's also about market disruptions.
Exactly.
And the market disruption will happen more and more because the behavior of the use of electricity from some area is not still known. Like again, electric vehicle, we don't know exactly how the people will use it. How will be the behavior. And this means that we need to be prepared for all these changes and be flexible.
Yes.
And the opportunity is to have a resilience also in that respect. That's transform the network into resilience, smart grids that can answer to different type of phenomenon.